Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Bible class. We thank everyone. Welcome to our virtual Bible class here at True Christian Fellowship, where we're located in the Inglewood neighborhood. And we don't want people coming out this time of night as it gets dark. This time of the year, it gets dark earlier. And so we don't want people coming out in the Inglewood neighborhood. Come on now, God gives us wisdom. And so we don't want people coming out this time of night. And He's given us this platform where we can sit back in our home, in the safety of our homes, and still have Bible class, and still learn the Word of God, and still grow spiritually. And so we thank God for all that He's doing us, how He's continued to bless us. So let's not use this platform as a way to please the flesh, but let's use the blessings, the different platforms that God give us to please Him, to grow the church, that the church may continue to abound in the Word of God. Let's use these social media sites to continue to grow God's church, not to please the flesh, but to please God. And we've been dealing in the last couple weeks with God's vision of a marriage. And so we hopefully will be able to close out this segment on God's vision of marriage. We had like 12 different uh, points that I wanted to cover under God's vision of marriage. And I think we got down to number 8. Number 8 is where we got to. And I think we trying to finish up number 8 in the last 3. All right. Good evening to my classmate, Not. God bless you. Not, good to see you this evening. I hope you're doing all right. Hope your mother and family is doing all right. God bless you. Good evening to my wife, our First Lady. God bless you, First Lady. Amen. First Lady got it smelling good upstairs. I smell some good food, so we got to get this Bible class over with. But we need spiritual food as well as physical food. So we must sit back and allow the physical, spiritual side of our lives to be fed also. All right. And so, like I said, we're going to be finishing up God's vision of marriage. I think this is the 3rd week that we're talking about God's vision of marriage, what God ordained marriage to be. And we started out in Genesis 1 and 26 and 28, where God talks about giving man and woman dominion over the earth. This He gave to them before they were even formed. Good evening to my cousin Shirley. God bless you. Good to see you this evening. I don't know, but she cooking something smell good. Good evening, Sister Kat Carter. God bless you. God bless you. Good to see you this evening. And so we began over in Genesis 1:26, talking about, how God gave them dominion, that power that He placed within man and woman, male and female. That's what He created for us. He created them, male and female. That's what we began talking about in Genesis 1 and 26, how God created them, male and female. He made them, gave them power before they was even made. So chapter 1 is just the creation of man, the creation, God's vision of what he wants marriage to be. Good evening, Pastor White. God bless you. You and First Lady Gail. Good to see you this evening. Wow. She doing chicken tacos. I got to get up from here, Pastor White. She doing chicken tacos. I've been eating bologna sandwiches while she at work. I got to go eat some real food. All right. Good evening, Sister Diane Rucker, my family. God bless you. Good to see you this evening. Welcome to our Bible class. And like I said, we're going to try to finish up God's vision of marriage. I said try to finish up because I don't want to, just keep just moving just to get a point across and somebody has a question. No, you got a question. Something's on your mind. Something's happening. We want to be able to get it in, hear what's going on, get some clarity, because God's vision of marriage is powerful. He ordained it, gave it power over the whole earth. He blessed them. All of this God did for marriage of Adam and Eve before they were even made. This was just God's blueprint. And then we see in the second chapter, then God begins to make that blueprint a reality as he first forms man. He first formed man. And so that blueprint becomes a reality in chapter 2. Chapter 1, we said, is the creation. Chapter 2 is the formation. So marriage was created, ordained, blessed, and everything, given power. Now he's beginning to form the pieces to make this marriage, that male and that female. And he began with the male, with Adam. And as he began with Adam, we talked about Adam was all alone. He was all alone when he first made Adam. Wasn't nobody but him and the animals. He was all alone. And God said, it is not good for man to be alone. Marriage is a beautiful thing. It's not good to be alone. It's a beautiful, blessed thing. Hello to my nurse, Ashley. God bless you. Good to see you this evening. So God said not good for him to be alone. So what did he do? He moved to the next step and said, I'm going to make him a helpmeet. Remember, we talked about this. He didn't say helpmate. I'm going to make him a helpmeet. Somebody to help him meet his needs and meet her needs. Somebody to help them both, help each other have dominion over the world. Adam wasn't given dominion over the earth by himself. He said both of them were given dominion. And so he brought them together. He want a helpmeet so they can meet spiritually, physically, mentally, what God has ordained for them. So this is a two-way street. Love is a two-way street. So he need a helpmeet, not a mate, not just somebody you can have sex with. That's a mate. I know many of us, we went to the man or went to the woman because of sex, but that's just mate. It's got to grow beyond that. I say to people all the time, your marriage over time must grow from a physical level to a spiritual level. You become a helpmeet. Meet each other's needs physically, mentally, spiritually. And so we move to the next step, step 5, where he said, I'm going to make a woman Down here in Genesis 21. I'm going to make a woman and use this woman. After I put him to sleep, he put him to sleep. The evening, Sister Deborah Hutchison, God bless you. Good to see you this evening. Good evening to my cousin Betty Jean. God bless you. Remember, as I said to everyone else, I'm moving. But if I'm moving too fast, y'all stop me, ask a question. That's okay. We ain't got to finish. We can keep working at this. So if I'm moving too fast, you got a question or something, stop me. So we down here to number 5, the formation of woman. So he puts man to sleep. In other words, you ain't got nothing to do with it, man. He put man to sleep. You ain't got nothing to do with her. The formation of woman, the creation of woman. So you can act tough all you want to, but you ain't had nothing to do with it. You was asleep. You didn't know what was going on. And then he took one of his ribs. He ain't take your mind. She ain't supposed to think like you think. He ain't take your eyes. She don't see like you see. He didn't take your shape. She ain't shaped like you, buddy. So that's what's wrong with our world today. Now they just want to take anything and make a marriage out of it. No, Anything can't come together and be ordained what God ordained it to be. She opposite of him, opposite attract. They don't think alike. They don't see alike. They ain't physically made alike. No. But this world's messed up because as you look around, man, what? Is that a woman? Is that a man? What's going on? That's the enemy that's creeping in. He don't like what God has ordained. But he took this woman. Then he closed up her Adam's flesh after he took that rib. After he took that rib, he closed up the flesh, and we moved to the next verse. He said, from the rib, he made him a woman. He made a woman and brought her unto the man. You see what he said right there? Why you acting like he found her? Adam ain't found Eve. I know the Bible says in Proverbs, he that findeth a wife. Yeah, but that don't happen all the time. Sometimes God will take you to that man, just like he took Eve to the right man. He brought her to the man. You ain't have nothing to do with it. You ain't find nothing. Hello to my co-worker. That's my ex-co-worker, Ina. God bless you, Ina. Good to have you this evening. So you ain't had nothing to do with it. You ain't know where she was at or nothing. God had to bring her to you. You ain't have nothing to do with it. And then we see as we move on here in that 23rd verse, Adam looked up, saw this beautiful woman. She flesh of my flesh, but she ain't shaped like I'm shaped. She bone of my bone, but them bones are a little different. So I'm going to call her woman. She close to me, but there's a difference. The beauty of her hair. That's why the Bible said a woman's hair is her glory. Her hair wasn't like his bald head like mine. Huh? Beautiful. Her eyes wasn't the same as his old hard-looking eyes like mine. Her mouth wasn't the same with old beard and mustache like old hard man like me. They different. So this is bone of my bone. In other words, this is my woman is what he was saying right then. This my woman. She was taken out of man, out of me. Right then, he was the only man. So this my woman. She was taken out of me. She belonged to me. He spoke ownership at that point. And I told Pastor White and others about this. Why is these men running around here talking about the wife, the children? Take ownership. This is bone of my bone, my woman, my wife, my children. Take ownership. And so at this point, he took ownership. All right, so we're going to move on to our next session. We talked about the ordained journey of marriage. Now they finna move on down here in verse 24. This is the journey that God ordained for them. This is the journey. He said, I want you to leave your mommy and your daddy and cleave unto your wife, and they shall be one flesh. He told you to leave the two people that are closest to you. Too many people carrying mommy and daddy into the marriage. Once you marry, you cleave to your wife. She becomes before mama-in-law. She comes before dad-in-law. She becomes first. I don't care if you even got some children in the playbook. Cleave to your wife, he said. You and her become one. See, them children grow up and they gone off. And then they're going to boil down to just you and her. So you cleave to her. What worked for mama and daddy, the ideology that held their marriage together, may not necessarily be what'll hold your marriage together. You find out what works for you two to become one. And so that's what God wants you to do. So if he wants you to be willing to break away from mom and daddy, definitely break away from aunties and uncles, cousins, and all of them in-laws. You got to break away in order that you be one. Now, he ain't saying you just cast them out of your life. No. But he wants you to know, you go talk to your wife first before you go talking to your mama or your daddy. Y'all work it out. Y'all are one. Too many people letting outsiders come into marriage. So he ordained them as they begin to start off this marriage journey. It's you and her coming together. And don't let all these folks get involved. You go to her, as Jesus said in Matthew 18. I think we had that. Jesus said in Matthew 18, you go to her. If there's something going on, you go to her personally. You and her alone. You and him alone. Stop letting all these other folks, mama, daddy, in-laws, get in there. You start out and y'all try to work this thing out. Y'all have become one as you begin your journey. And then we talked about trust must be part of the journey in that verse 25. Trust must be in there. Transparency must be in there. It said they both were naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. You shouldn't have a bank account that your wife don't know about. You shouldn't have friends that don't want to make your wife as a friend. If they can't be friends with your wife, they can't be friends with you. Y'all are one. Trust got to be there. If you got to follow her everywhere she go to trust her, that's a problem. If she got to call you to make every decision without making some simple decisions on her own, that's a problem because she was given dominion as well as you. So she can make decisions. Trust got to be there. You become one. My wife know what I like. She ain't got to go to no big fancy store to buy me nothing. She know. She can go to Walmart and get me some clothes because I love Walmart. I go to Walmart in a minute. Right now, I got on some pretty tennis shoes. Y'all wouldn't know where they come from. They came from Walmart. And my wife know that. I go shop in Walmart. My money goes a long way in Walmart, boy. But trust got to be there. Transparency, that's what he's talking about. They were naked. They were transparent, trusted one another, respect one another. That's so true, Betty Jean. It's got to be there in order for that marriage continue to grow. And then we move to the next section. I think we stopped here. We had started this section, which is we make mistakes in marriage. Problems come up in marriage. We started this section. This is Genesis 3. We went into Genesis 3 and 6. Genesis 3 and 6. Marriages, they come with some hiccups. You're going to run into some problems. I hear you, Pastor White. You're going to run into some situations. Why? Because the enemy wants to break up your marriage. He wants to make everything that God has ordained come to an end. He wants to destroy the world that God created. So that means he wants to destroy the type of marriage that God created between male and female, man and woman, ordained to have dominion over this world. But they must stay within the obedience of God, where the devil don't like that. I hear you, Betty Jane. The devil don't like what God has ordained. And so we begin here in Genesis 3 and 6 as we look at the woman looked at the tree and saw that it was good for food, saw that it was pleasant, what? To the eyes. She only saw that it was pleasant to her eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. So she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Here comes trouble. Here comes trouble in their marriage, y'all. Why? Because they listening to the wrong somebody. I hear you. Opposites attract. But still, Eve entertained the wrong person, and Adam listening to the wisdom of the wrong person. Y'all be careful going out here listening to these men and women. Man, I wouldn't let my wife treat me like that. Man, I wouldn't let my wife do that. Be careful who you going out here listening to. Telling you, I'll leave him. If he did that to me, I'll leave him. This is between you two. Y'all are one flesh. But they allow somebody else to get into the marriage, listening to other folks. So if you're going to be one flesh, you got to stop entertaining these people out here who ain't got nobody. So misery loves company. They don't want you to have nobody. And then some of these women out here, I was talking with somebody today, they don't care if you married. They still will go after your husband. And some of these men don't care if you a married woman. They still go after you. That's the enemy that marriage has to deal with. And so we can't be entertaining these people playing with the wrong thing. My daddy messed up and he told me all about it. He committed adultery on my mother. And this is what he told me. It all started just like with Adam and Eve. He entertained. He was playing around with this woman. And it went from playing to sin. You can't entertain the devil. He'll slip in on you. Pastor White talks all the time about don't give him no crack or no crevice to slip into. He'll take advantage. And so my daddy said he was just playing with the woman, and next thing you know, he done committed adultery. It's a terrible thing. The Bible say you get a mark. God don't like it. I brought you two together. I don't want like something else getting involved. So you get to mark. You hurt yourself, you hurt your wife, and you hurt others who look at your marriage and want to be like you too. And then they see this ugliness. And so God didn't like that. Uh-oh, here come the question. What you say, cousin Shirley? She said, how do you handle your spouse when they listen to what others say about you, especially when they should know that it is not their spouse personality? That is an issue right there. How do you handle something like that? Because they listening to what somebody else say, what the enemy is saying, whispering in their ears. And us men got that bad at listening to somebody else instead of looking for the truth for ourselves. So now we got to go back. We got to go back to what Jesus said in Matthew 18. We got to go back here. We got to keep going back to what Jesus said in Matthew 18. There's a trespass going on between the husband and the wife. So you must do what he said here. Go to them and them alone. Wait a minute. You believe in all of this? That is not me. You know me. You got to go to them alone. Talk to them alone. And let him know you got to get these other folks out of your ear. You married me. Good evening, Mother Mary Harris. God bless you. Good to see you this evening. But if Jesus said they don't want to hear you, okay, let's move to the next step. Now we bringing in others, counselors, preachers, and others to try to counsel them to witness the truth. But like you said, many black men, especially, we don't like to go to counselors. We don't like to move to that next step because we know we wrong and don't want nobody else to know that our marriage got problems. Okay, if you don't want to move to the second step, look what Jesus said in the third step. If he don't want to go, then tell it to the church. Now you're bringing it out in the open. You're bringing it out in the open. In other words, I ain't gonna walk hand in hand with you. Okay, you just gonna listen to your mama, then you go sleep with your mama. If you're gonna just listen to your daddy, you go stay with your daddy. I'm not walking hand in hand with you. Now the church begin to see that's a problem in their marriage. Something ain't right. You stop giving that man, that woman, what they want from you when they not giving you what you need. Marriage is a two-way street. Stop letting that man get all the milk out of the cow and he ain't buying the cow. He ain't putting a ring on it. He ain't doing what he's supposed to do, both physically, mentally, spiritually. That's so true. Men don't want to be transparent about their faults, their shortcomings. And that's why Jesus said you got to expose them to the church. Now folks saying, wait, whoa, why Pastor Neil and First Lady don't hold hands no more? He act like he don't want to talk to her. He way over there. She way over there. What's going on? See, don't let that man or that woman try to fool folks that everything is all right. Jesus said, expose that mess. And then he took it to the fourth step here in verse 17. He said, but if they still don't want to act right, still don't want to listen to you, still don't want to hear the truth, then he said, let him be unto you as a heathen man, as a publican. Now we're getting into divorce. It's basically what Jesus is saying. This is somebody I don't want to be around. He's a heathen now. He's a publican. You separate yourself from them. But you got to go through these 4 stages. Don't just jump up and say, I'm through with them because you got hurt. No, go through these stages. And yes, some marriages get to that heathen stage. I can't stand him. I still love him, but I don't love him like the way I used to. I can't be with him. I still love her, but she like a publican. She just want my money. She don't act right. It ain't the same. Yes, this is God talking, that it could get down to it's time to separate. But separation doesn't mean forever, because separation brings appreciation. So now y'all separate. And after a while separating, then he began to say, ooh, these other women out here, they ain't worth a dime. She began to say, these other men ain't worth a dime. You begin to see the goodness of the woman, of the man. And then you can come back together. But Jesus is saying you got to get to these stages, because some folks will misuse you, abuse you, as long as you allow them to. And I'm talking about physically. I'm talking about verbally, mentally. They'll abuse you. And that's why Jesus said you got to go through these stages. And if they're a man or woman of God, then they'll look at themselves, because these stages are making them look at themselves. We all like to look at others and find the fault in others. But these stages that Jesus is carrying us through here in Matthew 18 is having the man and the woman to look at themselves before they go all the way to complete divorce. And here come, and Marva says she thought divorce was a sin unless someone fornicate. Yeah, that's what we thought. But you remember Paul told you, if that husband, that wife don't want to stay with you, he said, let them go. And basically, if they don't want to do right by you, let them go. Why? Because every marriage ain't ordained by God. Show me in the Bible where God wrote a marriage for Adam and Eve. Show me in the Bible where Adam and Eve had to go before the preacher, the justice of peace, or anybody. Where's Adam and Eve's marriage license at? It's in heaven. Unless it's ordained by God, it don't mean nothing because you got a piece of paper, because you had a big, beautiful wedding. If it ain't signed by God, it don't mean nothing, Marva. So that's why some of these marriages ain't working out, because it wasn't signed by God. And God ain't trying to hold it together, because God is not the author of confusion. So get on out of here, you heathen, you publican, with that mess. God is not the author of confusion. He ain't signing all of these marriages that we got going on nowadays. No. Many a time, God showed us that you didn't have nothing, but we so caught up in the flesh. and the flesh will get you caught up in something that feels so good that you think is the right thing. But God always give you a pebble. Look at here, look at there. But we overlook it because we want to be with that person so bad. But God ain't signing every marriage that's coming together, every man and woman that's coming together, man and man. He ain't signing them marriages. You can go to all kind of justice of peace and preachers. They'll sign it, but God ain't signing it. So it don't mean nothing. All right. And so as we move on a little further, we see here they got mistakes. You make mistakes in the marriage. Adam and Eve made a mistake and brought trouble to their marriage. And sometimes that happens in our marriage. We make mistakes. That don't mean you have to break up, but you make mistakes. Matthew 19:6. We covered that. You're gonna make mistakes, but I want to look at that second part of this verse. He said, "What therefore God had joined together, let no man put asunder." That means you're gonna make mistakes. Don't be trying to run out on the marriage just because things get dark, they get ugly. Storms are a part of marriage. Going through ups and downs is a part of marriage. Good evening to my cousin Michael. God bless you. Good to have you this evening. So you're going to go through some rough times, but the man don't have the right to put it asunder. The woman don't have the right to put it asunder. You got to follow Jesus, God's way. Just because I'm sick of him, that don't give you the right. Just because he's sick of me, that don't give you the right. You got to follow God. So we quick to want to jump out of it when it ain't easy. But I tell people all the time that a true marriage is not about things going well all the time. What makes a true marriage is your ability to stay together when things get tough. That's what a true marriage is all about. Me and my wife, we had some tough times. We talked about one another, called each other out our name, balled up our fists at one another. But we stayed together and we repented, said we were sorry to one another. And that's what you got to be able to do in a marriage. Say, I'm sorry. I repent. I was wrong. But if you're too bullheaded, too full of pride to say I was wrong, your marriage ain't going to get far. So you don't have the right to put it asunder just because things get tough. Hang on in there. But things got tough with Adam and Eve. And so now we see here in Genesis 3, verses 8 through 13, they began to blame others. Genesis 3:8. They begin to blame others. And that's what we're good at. They messed up. The marriage has a problem. And now all of a sudden they hear God coming. When it says they hear God coming, that means they recognize. That's that spirit of truth that said, Charles, you done did something wrong in your marriage. When you hear God coming, that's something that's saying to you, Charles, you shouldn't have did that. That's a conviction coming your way. Charles, you shouldn't have did that. So now they hear God coming. They see that they are wrong. That conviction coming their way. It's going to come in your marriage. Me and my wife been together 34 years, but still, I find myself having to look at conviction coming my way. Nope, you shouldn't have said that to her. Nope, you shouldn't have did what you did. Conviction coming when God is coming. Uh-oh. So when conviction was making its way toward Adam and Eve in the cool of the day, they began to hide amongst the trees. You can try to hide with your buddies. You can try to hide with your friends. You can try to hide behind the preacher. And they say, it's all right what you did, but you can't hide from God. That old conviction down within will tell you, no, you wasn't right. But you got a lot of brothers out here, Pastor White, will tell you, oh man, don't worry about cheating on her. She'll get over it. A lot of men will tell you it's okay long as she don't know nothing about it. You all right. I ain't gonna say nothing. People like to hide behind the trees, behind ignorant people, because a tree is nothing but standing there and can't do nothing. But we find ourselves hiding behind ignorant people. But you can't hide from God. You can't hide from God. And so he called them. Conviction said, whoa, 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 Charles. Hey, Charles, where you at? You know what you did, Charles. You know what went on, Charles. Don't be going around here trying to make yourself forget about it. And over time, well, maybe she won't say nothing. Jesus said, when there's something going on between you and somebody, you go to them. So, Charles, don't try to hide. I know where you at. I ain't calling and asking you where you at because I don't know where you at. Charles, do you know where you at? Good evening, Brother Jones. God bless you. Good to see you this evening. Do you know where you are at in this marriage? Do you know how you've been treating your wife? Do you know, have you been paying attention that you ain't been staying with her and watching over her, telling her that you love her like you're supposed to? See, when you first started out the marriage, you opened the door for her. And I'm guilty of this myself. Open the door because you wanted her so bad. You opened the door. You did all of this. And that's what Revelation 3 said. Some of us need to go back to the first love. Somebody said what you did to get her, you need to do the same thing to keep her. What happened to that love, Charles, that you had in the beginning? That you tried your best to show that you a real man. Now you don't care. You just sit back, eat your food, and don't try to show affection to her at all. Where you at, Charles? You better wake up. You better wake up, because I know where you at. But do you know how you treating your wife? Well, he's talking about I was afraid because I was naked, and so I hid myself. Wait a minute. Who told you that you was naked? Have you been talking to some of the more brothers on your job that you ain't supposed to be talking to? Have you been walking around here listening to some of these old single women who ain't got nobody and don't want you to have nobody? Who you been talking with? Because I commanded you not to do that. So you ain't doing that because I gave you permission to do that. Did you do something that I commanded you not to do? And now here we go, the blame game. The woman. Wait a minute. Just not too long ago, you was talking about my wife, my flesh, bone of my bone. Good night, Betty Jean. God bless you. We got to be humble. But here he is talking about the woman. Now he playing the blame game. She gave to me of the tree and I did eat. Now we playing the blame game. And whenever you play the blame game, you don't own up to your responsibilities. You see faults in others. As long as you see the fault in others, you'll never recognize your own fault. That's why Jesus said, get the beam out of your own eye. Clean up yourself. And then you can see clearly how to work with your wife, work with your husband. Oh, okay, that was something else. You see clearly how to work with your husband or work with your wife, but you got to work on yourself. And that's what a lot of us don't like to do. We like to play the blame game. She did it. The woman, the wife. Wait a minute. I thought you said she was bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, my woman. That's why I don't like the wife. No, she ain't no the wife. Take ownership, Adam. But it wasn't only Adam. So we look a little further, and God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And here she go with the blame game. The serpent begat me, and I did eat. We love to blame others. It ain't gonna get no better in your marriage long as you continue to blame others for your own shortcomings. You got to learn to own up to your shortcomings in order for your marriage to grow. Own up to the fact that you're not loving her like you're supposed to. You're not showing affection like you're supposed to. You're not making him feel love like he want to feel love. It's all working together. We all read about Samson, and the Bible said Samson loved Delilah. You don't read anywhere in there where Samson did Delilah wrong, but she did him wrong. So there's some good Samson, strong men out here, but a lot of women are taking advantage of men just for their money, for what they can get out of them. Every man ain't bad. There are some good Samsons out here that many women have destroyed. But we got to learn on up to our own faults and stop blaming others, which moves us to the next step. Down here in verse 23 and 20, see the value in your spouse. Let's jump down here to 20. Verse 20, here we see where Adam called his wife's name Eve. Once they stopped blaming one another, he called her Eve. Because why? She is the mother of all living. He saw her value. You can't see the value in your wife. Study blaming her and not owning up to your own shortcomings. When you learn to own up to your own shortcomings, when you get that beam, that mote out of your own eye, then you can see the value in others, in your wife, in your husband. And so now he sees the value. Once we stop blaming one another, bickering and arguing with one another, saying, blaming them for the marriage not going right, blaming them for the children not doing right. When we stop blaming and take ownership, then we see the value which God created for this marriage, for your marriage, to have dominion, to come together in love and harmony, to become one flesh, both spiritually, physically, mentally, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. What I think, she think. When I hurt, she hurt. When he hurt, she hurt. It's all about you being there mentally, physically, spiritually for one another. A help meet, not mate. But this takes time. All of this didn't happen overnight. And so it took time. And so for many of your marriages, it'll take time for you to see the value in one another. Remember, I said, the Bible says in Proverbs, he that findeth a wife finds a good thing. You don't find your wife overnight. It takes years as you find and figure out this what she like, this what she hate. Finding your wife takes a period of time as you begin to find the value in her. And so it is here with Adam. He finally found the value in Eve, the greatness that God brought her to you for. Y'all are blessed. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor of the Lord. Favor is on y'all life because y'all come together. But you don't see that. It takes time for us to see that sometimes. But favor is on your life. Me and my wife, our marriage began to grow. Once we decided to get married and do the right thing, it began to grow right away. We went from an apartment to a house, and then from a house to a bigger house. Favor. But you got to be right by one another. God is not the author of confusion. Stop blaming others. See the value of each other. And then we get to number 11. We talk about the proper covering for your new marriage journey here in verse 21, 23 through 24. And so here God, guess what he did? When they finally came to their senses. See, God ain't gonna bless no mess. Y'all running around there bickering and arguing and fighting. He ain't gonna bless no mess. But once they stopped all of that foolishness and blaming one another, then all of a sudden, God made them some coats of skin. He clothed them. He covered them with his son, Jesus Christ. Something had to be sacrificed. That's why he called it a coat of skin. He clothed them with righteousness, with the word of God. Because they got to make a journey. But they ready now to make it together. At first, they wasn't ready to be put out separate. It would have been a big mess. But now they together. They become one flesh. And so now God is clothing them, preparing them as he prepared to send them out into the world. And so that's why he said that he's become one of us. And so I don't want them to grab hold to the tree of life in the condition that they are. So therefore, the Lord sent them forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground. But he covered them. Once they were prepared to go out together, he covered them. God ain't blessing no mess. He ain't blessing all of these marriages just because you say, I love them, just because they make you feel good mentally. If it ain't ordained by God, it ain't going to work. He ain't going to cover it. He ain't going to put favor upon it if it ain't ordained by God. If there's a bunch of arguing going on, confusion, God ain't going to cover it. He ain't going to put favor upon it. Y'all got to learn to come together and be prepared to go out into the world and tackle this thing as one. And after they come together, then he drove them out. After they come together, he drove them out to work together. They finally stopped blaming one another. And then God put them out there in the world together. So your marriage got to get out there in the world. It got to deal with the storms in life. It got to deal with ups and downs. Your marriage got to deal with people that's trying to destroy it. These are the things that your marriage has to deal with. And then, so we're going to make one last point. One last point we're going to make before we get out of here. We finally made it to the end, y'all. One last point we're going to make here. And that is point number 12, where it said marriage is not a dictatorship. So as you out there in the world, don't you be trying to dictate to your husband what to do. And husband, don't you be trying to dictate to your wife what to do. It's not a dictatorship. No, This is a democracy where we both have our input. And so here in Genesis 3:16, part B. Genesis 3:16, part B. Let's look at that. That's our last point. This is what God said to Eve. He said, thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over you. Did y'all hear what God said there to Eve? Your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. Wow. That sounds, what are you saying, God? First of all, before you get any bad thoughts, whatever God ordains is for our good. So notice he didn't tell Adam to rule her. If he ruled her, that's a dictatorship. You rule slaves. That's a dictatorship. That's a slavery. No, he didn't say rule her. She still got dominion. He said rule over her. That means I want you to be an overseer, a protector, a provider for over her. She can make decisions, but you be watching because you done messed up once before and wasn't watching when those serpents slip in. So you pay attention from now on. And don't let them serpents slip in your marriage. Because there's some serpents out here that want to destroy what God has ordained as marriage. And so you watch over her. Because women are sensitive and they want to do the right thing. And so they find themselves talking to people. And sometimes those people are not the right people to talk to. So you watch over your wife. Because she's sensitive. She don't want to hurt people. But sometimes you as the man got to step up and say, go somewhere. Get away from my wife. In other words, get behind me, Satan. Yes, you got to tell some of these people, stop talking to my wife. You the overseer. You the provider. This is not a dictatorship. I don't want you to rule her. No, rule over. All right, we made it, y'all. Good evening, Sister Adams. God bless you. Glad to have you, or Brother Adams. It's been a while. The Adams family is what I said. All right, thank you, Adams family, for being with us today. We made it, y'all. We finally got to the end of this thing. God's vision of marriage. Took us 12 steps, but we finally got there. Thank you all. Thank you all. We finally got there. Any questions or anything before we get out of here? Any questions or anything? Good evening. God bless you. We went through them 12 steps. Now, y'all ain't got them. It was God's vision of marriage. We started from Genesis. Then we went to God's vision of making that a reality. In other words, the formation of man and woman. And then we got to, it's not good for man to be alone. For a while, Adam was all alone. God didn't create man to be alone. And so we got to bring that a woman to be his helpmeet, not mate. To be there for him, to help him meet his needs and help her meet her needs. They both are given dominion. And so he brought a woman. He didn't just bring anything. The animals didn't work. Some of these folks and these women and men out here, they ain't nothing but animals, y'all. They weren't meant to marry nobody. And then after that, they began the journey. And he told them to begin that journey as one flesh, to cleave unto your husband, leave your mom and daddy. And trust must be a part of it. He told them at that time they were naked and open and weren't ashamed. In other words, transparency must be a part of your marriage in order for that marriage to work. And so as we moved on, we got to where he said, it comes to where we make mistakes. They made a mistake listening to somebody conversating with the wrong people. There are men and women out here you shouldn't be talking to. They ain't trying to do nothing but destroy your marriage. Be careful who you listening to. And then we went to don't hide and blame others. They began to hide, but conviction came their way. Where you at? I know where you at, but do you know where you at? Do you know what you're doing to your wife? Do you know what you're doing to your husband? And they played the blame game. But once they stop playing that blame game, Adam saw the value in his wife. You'll see the value in your husband or wife when you stop playing that blame game and take ownership. And so, God, it's time for him to move. It's time for him to leave out of here. But he covered them because they ready to leave out together. At first, he had to put them out. They would have went their separate ways, and that would have been a mess. But now they come together. They stop the arguing and bickering. They see the love and the value of one another. They're more compassionate about one another. So now he covers them, gives them that favor, and sends them out. And remember our last point, marriage is not a dictatorship. God told Eve, he shall rule over you, not rule you. She not your slave. Rule over. You be the overseer. You watch out for her. See, you wasn't watching out for her. That's why the serpent slipped in. We got some serpents in our world today. So you watch out for your wife. Watch out for your husband. There's some serpents out here. All right, y'all be blessed. No questions or anything. We're going to get out of here. Thank you all. This took 3 weeks, but we finally made it through. It took us 3 weeks, but we finally made it. So remember, no matter what you're going through in life, remember, trust the process in your marriage, in your life. Because remember, our number one marriage is to God. Our number one marriage is to God. So trust the process and keep God first. Thank you to the Adams family for stopping by and being with us this evening. Thank you to my cousin Betty Jean. God bless you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you to my cousin Shirley. God bless you. Thank you for stopping by this evening. Thank you, Sister Deborah Hutchison. God bless you. Thank you for stopping by. Hey, Priscilla. God bless you. Thank you for Priscilla for stopping by. Now I got the connection. You said this is your friend. Lanice is Priscilla's friend. Hey, Lanice and Priscilla. Now I remember the connection. Okay. Thank you all, sisters, for stopping by. Thank you, my cousin. Thank you, Mother Mary Harris. That's our 80-year-old that's getting with this program. Y'all can't get nothing past her. Thank you, Mother Harris, for stopping by. Thank you to my classmate, Sister Knott Kennedy. God bless you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you to my wife, our First Lady, for being with us this evening. Thank you to Pastor White. God bless you, my brother, for stopping by. Brother Jones, Q Jones, God bless you, my brother. Thank you for stopping by and being with us this evening. Sister Monica Chatwood, God bless you, my sister. Thank you for stopping by and being with us this evening. My cousin Michael, God bless you, Michael. Thank you for stopping by and being with us this evening. Sister Diane Rucker, my family, God bless you. Thank you for stopping by and being with us this evening. My co-worker, Ina, God bless you. Ina, thank you for stopping by and being with us this evening. All right. And earlier. The bishop was with us earlier. So we thank Bishop Granberry for stopping by. If I miss anybody, charge it to my eyes and not my heart. Remember, trust the process and keep God first. Trust the process in your marriage to God, in your marriage to a man or woman. Trust the process. Whatever you're going through in life, it gets difficult. You're going to go through storms, but hang on in there. Whatever God ordains, He will maintain. Be blessed, y'all. I'm out of here. That food is smelling good.